I'm Jenna Zark, the author of Crooked Lines, A Single Mom's Jewish Journey. I didn't expect to be a divorced single mom sharing parenthood with the cantor of a synagogue, but that's exactly what happened when my son was 3. So when you part company with the life you've been living and have to start a new one, what do? In my case, it meant getting down to the foundations of what I wanted, and the more I started digging into Jewish rituals and holidays, the more interested I became. Crooked Lines was born of that journey. The book focuses on 3 sections: single parenting, remarriage to someone of a different faith, and losing parents. Each chapter is told from the vantage point of Jewish holidays and rituals, many of which are not widely known. The section I'm reading now is about a society of people who wash the dead according to Jewish law and custom, and how I decided to request this ritual from my father. This is actually a preview of the chapter, so I'm only reading the first few pages here. But when I finish, I'll tell you how to find more. Son of the faith. He was gone. I was alone. I was holding his hand. In a few minutes, I would be calling the funeral director, who would ask if I wanted a Jewish burial for my father. That meant he would be given a ritual washing by members of the Sacred Burial Society called Chevra Kadisha in Hebrew. I would have to say yes or no. My father was not even remotely religious and had not been since the rabbi at his Depression-era synagogue denied him a bar mitzvah because his family couldn't pay dues. The bar mitzvah ceremony, meaning literally a son of the commandments or faith, signals an adolescent's joining the community, and Dad had always regretted missing out on it. I looked down at my father's still warm hand, trying to decide what to do. I could see him as a skinny, freckly 12-year-old, blue eyes widening as he took in the rabbi's words. My father would have been smiling because he didn't like letting people know when they heard him. He would have shrugged and nodded quickly, turning away. I tried to remember how I felt when I first heard of the Burial Society. Like many American Jews, I grew up knowing nothing of how our tradition treats the dead, and my introduction to it had not been an auspicious one. I had moved with my former husband to Hammond, Indiana from New York. Mitch had come to Hammond to be a cantor in a synagogue, I to try to write a play. He joined the Burial Society almost immediately, which came as a shock to me. He described it almost offhandedly as a group of people who take care of the dead by washing and dressing them. The washing, called tahara in Hebrew, has been done since ancient times in Jewish communities. It sounded weird and a little frightening because beyond seeing one non-Jewish friend in his coffin, I had never really been close to death. I wasn't sure how to react and asked him why he was joining. Because he had never been in a war or had other intense life and death encounters, Mitch thought joining the society would be an important experience for someone starting a career in the clergy. He also believed the society was a group of people willing to do what no one else would, and that intrigued him. I thought he was nuts. My mother and friends also thought he was nuts, but how could I tell him that? When I pressed for more details, he said he had something to show me. Instead of taking me to a funeral home, he brought me to a hair salon, where to my surprise, he introduced me to the owner, who shook my hand and offered me a free haircut. I watched her as she pumped my seat higher and laid her scissors out on the counter. Her name was Nancy, and she was a member of Mitch's congregation. She was close to my age in her late 20s, with a fountain of long curly hair, tight black leather pants and long red nails. "I heard your husband is a member of the Chevra Kadisha," she said, as she lifted my hair while grinning into the mirror. Then she leaned over and whispered, "Me too." I looked up at her as she smiled. Those slender white fingers with perfectly polished nails were going out at night and washing dead people. What's more, they were people Nancy knew. As she started cutting and layering, I knew I had to learn more. I'm going to pause now and thank you for listening. I can tell you the rest of the chapter is about the actual washing and the people who do it, as well as the very dramatic section of the ritual that happens when the body, which is strapped to a platform, is raised up and water is poured in a continuous stream of 3 buckets. To learn more about this and what I decided about my father's burial, you can hear the full chapter on my website at JENNESINNED.ark.com/crooked-lines-book. Audio files are just under the cover image on the lower part of the page. Thanks so much for listening today. And please feel free to contact me on my website's contact page, again at jennazark.com.